Hey guys, I'm Naseem. I am doing part 2 of our Man of Steel versus video. So, I want to let you know this is going to be a biased opinion on Man of Steel. I am taking the top 10, I'm going to be doing the top 10 reasons why I think Man of Steel stinks. If you want to see the positives, go ahead and check out Jesse's video. He took all the top 10 reasons he thinks Man of Steel is a great movie. I encourage you to watch it, whether you like it or not, and then comment and like and let us know what you think. Alrighty, let's get started. Warning, there will be spoilers. I'm assuming you have seen this movie, so if you have not, see it, don't see it, I don't really like it, but there are spoilers. So for me, Henry Cavill and Amy Adams just didn't have the chemistry that I think you need for a Superman and Lois. I feel like that's a pretty crucial part of any Superman movie, and so that was my first big problem with the film. On the topic of Lois, she's supposed to be a spunky, fiery, but fun character. She should be a caring character, and she should be someone that's very likable. I didn't find Amy Adams' portrayal of Lois to be very likable. I thought she was kind of jerky, and my problem with that is I love Amy Adams, and I really wanted to like her as Lois. I just didn't. My next problem is Clark Kent. I love Clark. That character is a great character. By design, he's nerdy. Superman is trying to not be recognized as Superman when he's Clark. So he's this nerdy, happy, kind of dorky character, and he should be very likable and endearing. I did not see this Clark as very endearing. In fact, I really didn't like him at all. He reminded me of a little bit of an Edward Cullen with all the angst and just the weight of the world on his shoulders. And frankly, Edward Cullen's just another crappy character from a crappy movie that I don't really want to talk about right now. My next problem is Krypton. In my opinion, it was way too dark. In fact, this movie was way too dark. That's what DC has Batman for. Superman is supposed to be symbolic of hope. He's the light in DC's universe. So for him to be as similar to Batman and as his personality to be as detached from the world as Batman's is ridiculous. Batman has a reason to be the way he is. He saw his parents killed in front of him. He grew up an orphan. There's reasons for him to be the way he is. Clark Kent, now, although he is an alien, he grew up with two loving parents, and in the middle of Smallville, he had a good upbringing. He should be a much more positive person. The Kents should have been instilling a sense of hope for humanity in him like they did in the comics. We'll get to that later, but ultimately, the movie was too dark, and it didn't convey what it needed to convey from the comics. This movie tried to take on way more than it could chew. They tried to fit in Krypton and the whole backstory of Krypton, as well as the entire backstory of Superman, and then go into the invasion of Zod. And the problem with that is that you didn't get enough time. It was snapshots of this whole story. And the problem is that you didn't build up enough of a relationship with these characters to care about what happened to them. On Krypton, Jor-El dying didn't really matter to me. In fact, Krypton blowing up didn't really matter to me. I also felt the same way about Jonathan Kent when he died. I didn't really care. I didn't find myself rooting for Superman throughout the movie like I should have. There's problems with that. You need to take the time to develop your characters, especially your main characters, and ones that are crucial points to the movie. If you want to make their deaths meaningful or their triumphs and their sacrifices meaningful, you have to take the time to let your audience get to know them. Give your audience a reason to root for them or root against them. I have a huge problem with the way the Kents were portrayed in the film. Martha and Jonathan would have never entertained the thought that Clark should let a bus full of children die in order to protect his identity. They're the type of people who believe that if someone needs help, you help them, and you do what you can to help them. That's why they raise Clark to become Superman. They have such a huge impact on the hero he becomes. And by excluding that type of thought process from the film, you do a disservice to the comics and to all the characters themselves. Next, Man of Steel spent way too much time on Jor-El and not enough time on Jonathan Kent. Jonathan Kent's death needs to matter, and the only way that can happen is if you develop his character. The reason his death is more important than Jor-El's is because he's the one who raised Clark. He's the reason Clark becomes Superman. Jor-El is not. Now, they included a huge speech from Jor-El, and it was a beautiful speech, but it really should have come from Jonathan. Clark doesn't have the bond that he has to Jor-El, and so as cool as it would be to see Krypton and learn about where Zod came from, and even honestly see an origin story of Krypton, that would be amazing, but it doesn't do service to a Superman movie. They needed to take the time and use it on something more productive. I also feel like Clark had way too many problems in this movie. It takes away from the two big problems that he should have, his two biggest obstacles, which are Jonathan Kent's death and Zod. The reason those should be the biggest and they should mean something is because Superman has these incredible powers. He's more powerful than anyone we've ever met in the DC universe so far. And the reason it's important to see his struggle with Jonathan Kent is because it's the first time he can't save somebody. And that's huge. That's an important thing for him to go through. It helps him discover the mortality of the people that he loves, and it helps him decide that he needs to save the people of Earth. It helps him kind of find the reason he's fighting for humanity. And the reason his struggle with Zod needs to be incredibly big is that it's the first time he's met somebody that he can't defeat. It's the first obstacle he's faced where he doesn't know if he's gonna win. And that's important because it's a huge blow to his ego, and it's something he needs to go through in order to become a stronger hero. By including all of these little problems, it belittles the two big ones he faces. Okay, one of my biggest problems with this movie, and one of the big problems everybody has, it's a pretty controversial topic, is killing Zod. Now personally, I actually don't mind Superman killing. Superman in his early years killed a lot. And then later, after they kind of went through a phase where they stopped killing anybody, he still killed people, but it had to be absolutely necessary. Now, the problem that I had with him killing Zod is that it just seemed too easy. They didn't show his struggle enough for me to really feel like he thought this was the only way. Now, I get that they show a couple emotional parts, but in my opinion, that's just not enough. I need to see him with Zod in his hands, struggling with the decision, and then killing him. I felt like it was all too fast. My number one problem with this film, the biggest flaw I see in this movie, is Jonathan Kent's death. Him getting sucked away by a tornado to save a dog is ridiculous. The reason Jonathan Kent went to save a dog and risked his life to save a dog is because he believes that if you can help someone, you should, at any cost. Which is why he would instill that same belief in Clark, who in turn would never let his father die if it was within his control. The comic books killed Jonathan Kent off by natural causes in order to teach Clark the mortality of people and the people that he loves. It's what drives him to help those that he can. It's what turns him into Superman. He wants to save humanity when it's within his control because that's the type of person he is. He is a great, amazing person who is going to try to make the world a better place and try to help everyone that he can. He needs to know that there are people that he can't, which is why, if he can help them, it is that much more important for him to help them. By not including this in the movie, they just discredit the entire Superman character. Okay guys, that's my spiel. Thank you so much for watching, and please let us know who you agree with. Do you think Jesse's right, or do you think I'm right? Choose wisely and comment below.